Good afternoon, everybody. Really nice to see you all today. I'm Fiona from an organisation called Scotland Food and Drink, and we promote and grow the food and drink industry in Scotland, of which we are very proud. And we've had chocolate and cocktails already this morning, but now we're moving on to wild cooking, which is a very trendy thing these days. And we've got the fabulous Will Hamer of Wild Cabin Kitchen. Has anyone heard of it? Yes. Anyone been? No? Okay. Hopefully I have some business after this. And that's at the Argyll house in Cairndow at the head of Loch Fyne. So Will has travelled the world, mastering the art of wild cooking. So you've got some amazing experience under your belt. You've been in Finland recently. Doing a stage. In Slovenia. You've also been at the wonderful Linclum restaurant.
Soon to be
in England. That's a renowned restaurant in Cumbria. Yes. And so essentially you can connect food, fire and nature.
Yeah, that's the part.
And but a big part of what you do is connecting with local businesses and suppliers and really working with nature and local produce. So we're in for a real treat. Wild cooking is definitely where it's at these days, so we're going to get lots of inspiration and ideas from you, Will. So over to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Hi, guys. Thank you for the introduction, Fiona. It's very nice. This is about as close as I can get to outdoor cooking in here.
Outdoor cooking inside.
Virginia said I wasn't allowed to make a fire in here, which is a surprise. So I'll explain what we've got going on first, and then what I'm going to cook. So we've got my first ever piece of equipment. Really, it's kind of kick-started my love for outdoor cooking, and it was just off Amazon, just a standard cast iron plancher, £40, and I used to take that to the beach in North Uist on my days off, and I would cook. And then it just became a bit too small. I was like, well, I need a bigger plancher now, or a bigger cast iron pan. So it kind of went from there. But this is where, this is very achievable. And I think, if I can inspire you after this, get one of these, and then, get outside maybe at the beach the weekends and see what you can cook on it. The dish I'm doing today has that in mind. It's something that you can go to the beach at the weekends or whenever, and you can cook this. Maybe towards the end of the dish, there will definitely be a level where you're like, yeah, I can do that, and then we'll get a bit silly at the end with a few additional flavours, just to elevate the dish a little bit more. So I have this heating up. Very important that you start heating a cast iron pan, quite a while before you intend to cook. Just at a gentle heat, bring it up. It will actually release a lot of the oils that it's kind of held onto maybe from prior cooks, and it will bring that. You'll see me wiping it just now, that just brings it up, bit of butter, wipe it again, bit of butter, wipe it again, then it's going to be ready there to cook. I'll do that one more time.
What got you into wild cooking? What was the turning point for you?
I was in North Uist, and like I said, I was, on my days off, I would just go out to the beach, and I just found myself, whenever I had a spare moment, I would head out there and cook. And I remember seeing there was a women's club, used to go swimming every Thursday evening. And I remember seeing, I was like, I could invite them over to eat something. And I was looking at my plancher and I was thinking, yeah, okay, maybe a few more ingredients. I could maybe put a dinner together. And it kind of started this ball moving a little bit. And so I started hosting, these kind of like supper clubs on the beach in the absolute middle of nowhere. In North Uist, and to my surprise, people rocked up. Much to their confusement, actually. Just some guy in the absolute middle of nowhere making a fire and a nice random table, and we just used to cook dinner and watch the sunset, and that's really how it began.
And then you've got a business side to it, but you never thought it would become a
business, I never thought it would be. It was more just a hobby, and then one thing literally led to another, and here I am. Showing people how to do it. But it was just very gradual, very natural. And like I said, the desire to keep cooking on fire and exploring different connections with ingredients, definitely spurred me to get a bit more creative. And I'll show you this today. So what we've got, pears are coming into season. I don't know if you've seen them around. They're a great fruit for cooking on fire. I think fruit's probably one of my favourite things to do on the plancha because it's got so much natural sugar. And when you put that on a cast iron pan or a fire, that fire will start extracting the sugars, and that's when you start getting that really exciting colour, that caramelisation, that kind of, it's one of the best things that I find about cooking is that visual aspect of it, the flames, the colour, the caramelisation, and those textures as well. So that's feeling pretty good. I'm trying to be slightly safe. Usually I'd be absolutely blasting it by now.
Does anyone do while cooking themselves? Does anyone cook outside? Yes, a few.
Yeah, it's so much more than cooking, really. It's a way of, I guess, connecting to the outdoors in a different way. We all love eating, and I think we get a bit caught up sometimes when we're whilst watching telly, and I've definitely been a culprit of that. And you're trying to watch telly, you're trying to eat, and you're having an odd mouthful because you want to watch it, and that connection's a bit off. But when you're outside, you're cooking, you've just had a nice dinner, even if it's beans on toast or something like that. If you've got that view of the ocean or some mountains around you, that beans on toast tastes a little bit better. And that's kind of what it's all about.
Very, very primal, isn't it?
It's very primal. There's kind of no restrictions. You can really try and cook whatever you want. There'll be a way of cooking, with fire about it. So what we're going to do now, that plancha is starting to smoke. That's a good sign that we can start adding our fruit.
We're all right for health and safety.
Health and safety is absolutely fine at this point. If you start to see flames anywhere back there, I'll join you. We'll get out.
That's right.
So one of the best things I find, and even when I'm doing private suppers and stuff at Argyll, I'm very reluctant to remove seeds and all this kind of stuff.
Just keep it all whole.
Keep it whole. Try and connect people, especially my guests, to that kind of, that whole product, that whole piece of fruit, that whole vegetable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a bit of butter on this plancha. That smokiness is pretty good.
So you travel around Scotland cooking for people, private groups on...
So I do private suppers at Argyll.
Yes.
We've just kind of done up an old greenhouse there.
Cool.
It was, it's slightly overgrown, but it happens to be lots of grapevines and figs growing in these greenhouses, which in Scotland is, you don't come across that very often.
Quite something, isn't it? Yeah.
And I remember walking around with Virginia and kind of asking to use the space, and she said yes, and from there we just went straight into it. And actually now, the grapes are ripe, so the guests eating the next couple of weeks get this very unique experience where they get to, eat these grapes that have been ripening for the last few months. So it's a bizarre but beautiful experience.
Yeah, and I guess you get people coming from all over.
Yeah,
Do you experience that?
We do. We do now. People are coming out there. They're interested in a different dining experience. I think.
Yeah.
We've done as good as restaurants are. I mean, I absolutely love restaurants, but we know what that experience is. And sometimes people want something a little bit different, and that's where I come in. So what we're going to do now, guys, so we are going to do charred pears and plums with dulce de leche, which I made earlier because I'm on a bit of a time count. And then we've got some nice Scottish yogurt just to counterbalance those flavours. And I'll explain how I made the dulce de leche before heating that up. That's got a few spices going through it. And then we're going to make a little coffee salt, which sounds...
Coffee salt?
Yeah, it sounds a bit fancy, doesn't it? But it's really not. It's literally coffee and salt, and you mix it together, and it just elevates certain dishes in a really nice way. So we're gonna mix a little bit of yogurt and just get that ready. That sound is pretty nice now.
Yeah, that's the sound you're looking for, a nice sort of sizzle.
That sizzle, that nice gentle sizzle. We'll have a little look. I mean, I know really by looking at it, you've got that colour here. I mean, we're still a little while off, but that colour is kind of what we're looking for, that caramelisation. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit, so I wanted to extract it gently. Sorry?
Plums.
Yes.
Plums.
Yes, you got plums and pears. And what we'll do, just to bring out a bit more caramelization, we're just going to add a little bit of brown sugar just to the top, which is over here.
So this is absolutely something that anyone could do
Exactly.
themselves,
And I
outdoors,
think
at home.
when I plan these cooking demonstrations, there's not much point going into these and saying, let's make a charred creme brulee with this, that, and the other. Because that's not what inspired me originally to go into the cooking. It was actually just very simple ingredients, very simple flavors on the fire, and then it just went from there. And it's nice to inspire people at that level. And it just goes with confidence and interest. The more you explore the fire, the more things you discover. And that's, pears were one of those. So I've started doing a lovely dessert since they've come into season, where I'll do pears just like this, like we were seeing now, but I'll also do half of them directly on the fire. So you've got some on the coals, charring, creating a different flavour, and then you've got these as well.
So you're still learning yourself about
always trying to learn. I think there's just a constant amount of things that you can discover in this kind of thing. So yeah, it's always, some things go wrong, Sometimes it comes out the fire a little too late, and you're like, oh, that's burnt. There's a really fine line between char and burning something. And, that's just something you come to. So just to show you guys the colour on these fruits. I do like to take fruits quite far. I do like to get that level of char on there. Just like I said, that line and balance quite nicely on it. That's looking lovely. We'll just turn those now. And so we've added a bit of sugar. These plums are gorgeous. And then we'll go, I have brought a little bit of honey with me.
Oh, lovely.
And we'll just, and again, you're just adding that layer of caramelization every time you add honey, a little bit of extra sugar. Some nice organic honey here. And we'll just pour those in there like that.
You've obviously also got to know lots of local producers and suppliers when...
That's it. I mean, this is...
Opened up another world.
This is the best time...
For you.
The best time of year to eat, really, in a way. You've got the ingredients from the late summer still hanging on in there, and you've also got some lovely autumnal ingredients coming in, winter squashes, pears, all very beautiful on the fire. Just going to give my hands a little wash.
Looks lovely. Looks lovely. Think you'll all try this at home sometime? Yeah.
So I've just added a bit of butter there, just to now start a bit more of a cooking process, because you've got that layer. It's always going to cook the layers. When you add the butter, it just releases all this kind of steam, and we'll just coat the fruit in a bit more flavour. Whilst that's ticking away, we'll get this yoghurt. Beautiful Scottish yoghurt in here. Not a lot. I just want to cut through the dolce de leche and the pears, because as the sugar tries to escape the fruits, you'll get some lovely sweetness, of course, but you'll also get that bitterness from the kind of the caramelization. So this cream will just cut through any of that and make that quite nice and palatable before we add our salt. So I'm going to add a bit more yogurt. I'm a sucker for making too many things and then accidentally get to enjoy a plate myself at the end. So we're just going to mix that. I'm going to add a tiny bit of honey to the yogurt as well. Like that. Not a lot, just a little touch, just to give it a little sweetness.
And you can stay where you are at Wild Cabins.
Yes, yeah. So
you do have.
We do. The Wild Cabin Kitchen is a business that we started in collaboration with a cabin company. It's these Nordic-style cabins, about 25-minute walk from the estate. And it's a collaboration between my previous business, the Wild Kitchen, and Charlie's a cabin company. So we've combined the two. So it is a very unique experience. But now, I guess, because it's been so popular, because people don't just come, to stay; they just come to eat, and which is great, really. So now we've got our yogurt. I'm always listening, always thinking about the fruit or about what's on the fire, and it's actually a really exciting part of the job because you're serving, you're talking about these ingredients, but in your head you're like,
So you've got to be really attuned to the noise that it's making.
Yeah,
Is that how?
Absolutely. So look at that. That's gorgeous colour.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Those plums are great. We can probably just chuck those on the edge there. I think I want to get a little bit more caramelisation on the front of these. I mean, they're looking good, but I want to take it a little bit further. And then it's all about touch as well. It's always having a little feel of the fruits, because you'll be able to tell, when it's ready just by the feel of things. They're gorgeous, they're lovely and soft. The pears need a little longer, so we'll just flip that over. That's a lovely little layer of char there. So yeah, we're looking pretty good.
Lovely.
And what we'll do in a minute is we'll let those off. The plancha stays hot for so long, so you can actually let those sizzle out for another 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just here, we'll get our dolce de leche on, and then we'll start combining the two together. As you can tell from my voice, it just gets more and more energetic the more the cooking process goes on, because it does get so exciting, especially outside. You're always moving around the fire. It's so much more than cooking. You're constantly thinking, okay, wood, how am I going to adjust the heat? What's the sound of the vegetables? What's the sound of the fruits? What part of the cooking stage are they on? And so you're always dancing around, moving around. It's a bit of a workout, and it just creates this kind of healthy working environment. Because I guess in restaurants, you'd be inclined to work at the same station where you're chopping away like this all the time. Your neck's getting a bit sore. And that's your 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. So it's one of the things I love about this kind of work is you have no choice. You've got to move. You've got to move around. So these pears now, that kind of brulee kind of colour, is just beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
So we're going to turn that right down.
So would you say that Scotland's catching up on other parts of the world who've maybe been doing this for a lot longer than we are? Because my sense is that it's become really quite popular. There's a lot, more and more of these kind of experiences that people are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, fire is ingrained in a lot of cultures. Argentina being but one. Even Spain, there's fire everywhere, and I think there is in Scotland. It's just maybe we've lost it a tiny bit, but we're inclined to smoke, and peat is a huge thing in Scotland, and smoke comes from that the fire. So it's very much ingrained into the culture here. I guess maybe just linking a bit more food, a few more ingredients with it, is wonderful and much needed, I think. But definitely catching up for sure. And there's so much space for it. So get that char off. I'll keep that in here. So I'm going to actually take this off now.
It's gorgeous.
This fruit is looking and smelling perfect.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And we'll just put our dolce de leche on, which I've always wanted to say this, but here's one I made earlier.
Nice, it's your big moment now.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the timer there. I'm like, would I have got away with some dolce de leche? Maybe.
It looks gorgeous.
So I'll just explain how I did the dolce de leche. It's caramel. It's an Argentinian caramel, to put it simply, and it's equal measures butter and sugar. So, for example, 100 grams sugar, melt that down until it all melts. Then 100 grams of butter. Whisk that together, and then you can gradually add some, nice rich farm cream or some condensed milk until you've got that right kind of consistency. So it's quite simple, but I add a little layer of star of anise and cloves just to give it that autumnal feel. So that when you eat it, you'll get a bit of spice.
Lovely.
And just brings you a bit closer to our season. So we'll just mix that here. Go in there. And you can still hear, can you hear the sizzling? That's still going.
It's still, yeah, it's still
I've
sizzling.
definitely been a culprit of thinking the planches, cooled down half an hour, 45 minutes after, and then trying to pick it up. Looks quite funny from a distance, but it's not as nice, trust me. So we've got a nice yogurt with a bit of honey. I can probably put that in the plate just to rest that for a minute.
Are you open all year round?
Well, we are. Being a new business, we are experimenting the Scottish winter, which I'm a fine lover of. But in terms of people coming out, especially to Loch Fyne, which can be attractive in some cases, we're going to see. But we're definitely going until Christmas.
Right. Okay.
So that's we're just going to wait and see how it goes. But I mean, I'm doing Long Clune. In February.
You must be very excited about that. Very,
very excited, yeah. Just, it's good to get away and keep learning these things. Because, you go to these fine dining restaurants, you go, okay, that's extraordinary. And then you come back and you go, well, how can I make that, how can I do that flavour profile on the fire? And then, you just get different lessons and, try and combine them with a bit of smoke or something like that. And it just makes for a bit more interesting, a bit more creativity. So we're going to make that coffee salt, this fancy coffee salt that I was telling you about. Our dolce de leche is looking pretty good. It really, I don't know if many of you make caramels and stuff at home, but it really is as simple as that. You're just, dolce de leche just sounds so much more fancier instead of caramel. But like I said, when you next make one, put some spices through it.
Lovely.
You maybe use it the next day, and overnight those spices would have really packed a punch in that caramel, and it just, suddenly you've got something quite exciting. So our coffee salt, I do love the smell of coffee.
So am I right that you can use coffee salt with meat?
Yeah. You can use coffee salt, especially, I cook a lot of vegetables. So, for example, Jerusalem artichokes with some coffee salt and, maybe a bit of truffle aioli or something like that would be really nice. And we're just going to use them with the pears, because pears has got that kind of line between sweet and savoury a little bit, especially when it's cooked over the fire. So this will just give it that little bit of a touch at the end that will kind of bring it out. Got that, it's looking pretty good now. I'm going to bring that right down.
And you've made your own coffee salt. You've made
this?
This.
Well, we're gonna make it now.
Okay,
it really is.
So you'll teach us how to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to teach you guys how to. It is super easy. Almost too easy. You might even laugh at this, but it really is just a case of, some nice sea salt.
Has anyone used coffee salt before? No? That's a new one, I think, on most.
Yeah, so you can get quite experimental with salt. We're always using salt, aren't we, in our cooking? For example, you can dry some fruits, dry berries, pestle and mortar, and then mix that with salt, and then suddenly you've got a salt that has that really quite nice touch of sweetness. And it's just really cool when you add it to different flavours and different meats as well, and it will just elevate it a little bit. We've bought smoked salt before. You can smoke your own salt. That is literally, create some smoke somehow, enclose it in and put your salt in. It's quite easy to infuse flavours, as you'll see now. We'll just turn that off.
That looks really lovely.
So we've got the salt here.
Bubbling away there.
And we'll see how much coffee we should put in. I'm thinking just a little sprinkle like this.
So what kind of coffee?
Just your standard coffee, Lavazza, maybe. If you want to go something stronger, it really is just what you've got. Scottish one? You could go for a Scottish one, literally next door.
Argyll coffee next door, plug. It's really good coffee,
Go over and say, I'd like to buy some coffee, please. I'd like to make some coffee salt. So what we might even do as well, we'll add a touch of this to the dolce de leche, just to give it that little earthiness.
So it's literally ground coffee and salt.
And salt, yeah. And it's simple as that. When you go, especially when you go to these fancier restaurants and stuff, they have such a way with words. But something as simple as coffee salt, it really is coffee and salt. Sea salt. Sea salt all the way, really. It just has that flavour. But you can use finer salts. It's not going to be the end of the world. Yeah, that's looking really good. So I think we'll start plating up slowly. So we'll move.
If there's any questions for Will, just you had. Oh yeah.
I want to ask about temperature control.
Yeah.
And, you've got the gas burner.
Yeah, isn't it? It's a treat.
How do you control
Yeah.
temperature on fire? I noticed you moving stuff to the edge of the plant.
Yeah. So it's
Question, thank you.
it's constant. You're very much just in simple ways, just hands in. You know, I have proper gloves. I'm always down. You know, adjusting. You know, especially I chop as I go as well. So I'll chop the wood to the right size that I want it, and I'll put that in knowing what kind of flame I'm going to get from that, what kind of heat I'm going to get. So, for example, you know, let's say carrots. If I went and put carrots on a fire at very, very high heat, they're just going to burn straight away, and you'll have a burnt, hard carrot, which is a pretty sad affair. Whereas if I brought that fire right down to a bed of burning embers and got that plancher just ticking over at a very, very even heat and put the carrots on for half an hour, say, that will slowly but surely cook and char at the same time, and you've got a very, very nice carrot. So in terms of adjusting heat, it's very much, hands in, getting your tongs, always moving pieces of wood. It's more always the size. You know, you've got a thick bit, that's a slow burner. You know, you're going to get a slow, even heat. But if I move that bit of wood and I put, 3 or 4 small, finely cut logs in, I'm going to get high flame, high char, which may be more suitable to a venison steak or something like that. So it's very much a hands-on activity.
And just
lots of burning.
need to experiment and learn on the job.
Yeah, in terms of health and safety, it's a nightmare. So that's probably the biggest part of cooking, actually, is trying to understand what ingredients require what heat.
Yeah.
And that really is that's just been a huge experiment from my part. A lot of reading, just a lot of trial and error.
So you've learned that as you've just gone along.
Absolutely, yeah.
Has anyone taught you any of these? You've been
Fire, no. Not so much, but my time in Slovenia was incredible. You know, a very famous restaurant. You know, you're not learning about fire, but you're learning about, ingredients and how to cook them to their best, ability and their best potential. So you take that, then you take them to the fire, and you're like, okay, well that didn't work. But how can I adjust it and make it work? And so you can learn like that, and then it's very much trial and error behind the fire. There are people, there are chefs that I'd love to work with. Lennox Hasty or maybe Francis Molman, but these guys are celebrities, and not everyone's cooking on fire, so it's quite hard to find those role models who are quite, easy to go and learn under. So fire has been me so far, but that's been quite exciting. So.
And have you connected with other people across Scotland who are doing a similar thing? Is there a little network of you cooking
There's
guys?
some great things. There are some people are turning to fire more and more these days, which is nice. I'm just going to turn this off. People are cooking on planches, cooking on grills, at a fast rate, and it's actually great. Yeah, there's a lot of people, especially in Loch Lomond, who are kind of just like inspiring each other.
So a nice sort of community building up.
Yeah, I think so. Give it another 5 years, and we'll all be doing it.
Yeah.
And, we can have whole festivals based on fire.
I can see why it really kind of gets under your skin, and becomes.
Yeah, well, it's just so, people experience the flavours. And the textures, and I think it is exciting, and especially when you're cooking on raw fires, big fires. It's not a little area in the restaurant that's designated to a grill. It's the whole kitchen is based on fire, and I think that makes for a whole different flavour profile, a whole different experience. So we're gonna plate up. I was always thinking, I think we'll go quite hearty in terms of our placing up. Sometimes, especially in my tasting menus, I'll do maybe dish number 1 will be quite fancy, and there'll be a few tweezers coming out, and nuts, and then you'll go to dish number 2, and you're like, well, that's just been on the plate, straight off the fire, melted butter and sea salt, and then maybe the third dish will be slightly back to that kind of fine dining side. So I do like to mix it up. It's more exciting for me. It's more of a, it's me being a bit selfish, and I want to have fun as well when I cook, you know. So we'll mix the two together. Maybe
That looks lovely.
I'll bring out the tweezers. But what we're going to do, we're probably going to, I don't want to cut those.
No.
So I'm going to put those straight on here. It's
Sticking that on the yogurt, you've got a little bit of...
Got that on the yogurt, yeah.
Yep.
So got the yogurt nice and neatly underneath there. We're definitely going to cut the pears for sure, and we'll just we'll rest those there. I never plan or practice plating up. I don't know if a lot of chefs might do that, but I'll wait and I'll cook it, and then I'll say, right, how do I want to plate it?
Go with your instinct.
Yeah, go with instinct. It's more exciting that way, isn't it? And let's keep that hole here. If I was serving one portion, I would probably keep it at that. But I think, should we stack it up a little higher? I think we should.
Okay.
We'll put a few more pears on there, just for the excitement of it.
So what kind of things do your guests say once they've eaten with you? What's...
Well, they're always slightly surprised. The location, to begin with, is very unique. You meet at the lock front. You've got this absolutely stunning, estate house to your right, and this lock find to your left, and then I pop out the woodwork. So you can
pop out.
You can see guests walking from like a vantage point. So I always time it to just come out a little bit, which is always fun. And then you walk them through these gorgeous gardens. And it's you kind of lose where you are, a bit of track of time, and then suddenly you're at these old greenhouses where grapes and figs are growing. And then I cook 6 courses or so, trying to showcase as many of the local flavours and producers as I can. And I will mention Kate, because she's so wonderful. But we work with a lovely gardener in Straker, which she just grows such amazing produce. Winter squashes. She's even done aubergines this year. And
oh wow!
So she's very talented. So whilst we're here, guys, if I don't talk too much.
I imagine it's a good way to get rid of stress as well, to come and do something like that, and you leave it all behind. You're just transported into nature in another world.
Yeah, I think when you're eating amongst grapes and figs, you kind of lose where you are a little bit. And not that we should lose where we are. We're in Scotland, but it's just this. You kind of forget your, what you do for work or what you're doing.
Just leave it behind.
Tomorrow you leave it behind, and you do a little bit of a, you just enjoy it. So what we're going to do, we're just going to very rustically just spoon this over on the side.
Lovely.
Like that. And then we're going to grate a little bit of nutmeg and add our little coffee salt, like that. Nothing too much. Like I said, completely improvised in terms of placing out. You could probably do it differently. If I was doing a tasting menu, maybe I'd bring out the tweezers, I'm not sure. I don't think I am today. I don't think it's needed. And I'm just going to grate some nutmeg over there like that. Bit of winter. And I think that's it. Sometimes I'll have my flavours out. Some flavours I'll bring with the intention to possibly use them. Or if I feel like they're going to work with that particular vegetable, I'll experiment with guests, which is also good fun. I think it's quite healthy that way. These I'm just going to leave here.
Can anyone have a taste of?
I'm probably sure they can.
Yeah.
I'll see if I have another plate, and I'll do a little bit of a plate up. Of course, yeah. So yeah, you really just have this rustic, delicious autumnal dessert, bit of Scottish yoghurt, charred pears, plums, and a little bit of nutmeg, just to remind you that we've got a bit of a dark winter ahead. So that's the dish.
That's the dish.
And I hope really that it just inspires you, because realistically that is just pears cut in half on a fire, and cook it until you think it looks good, and then maybe you can add stuff like dulce de leche or yogurt. Yogurt's a great one, especially if you're camping, or if you're, let's go to the beach for the day, let's take some pears, but make a fire, and then just, yogurt's great, it's in a pot, mix it with a bit of honey, and there you go. You've got yourself something quite interesting instead of your standard lunch maybe, which may be burgers or hot dogs or something. So that's the dish. Well, I might see if I think I will have another plate or something. I'll plate up one more, and you guys can try it. And thank you for coming to.
Any questions though? Any more questions?
Oh, we're at 9 minutes. Wow.
Any more questions?
So where are you based exactly? Are you in Picard?
And just could you tell everyone the website?
I do have
address
cards, guys.
On Instagram.
It's the Wild Cabin Kitchen. I'll put them out on here for you. I'll put it next to this little basket.
Yeah.
That should work here.
Which country did it inspire you the most?
Which country? God. That I travelled to, or just okay. I mean, I had never been to Argentina, but I know, there's some great things going there. But in terms of countries I have been to, India was pretty extraordinary. Although I don't cook many Indian, style dishes in terms of, cuisine, and that was just bizarre. Especially they use fire all the time. It's their cheapest way of cooking ingredients. So, the breads, the chapatis and rotis, in these massive,
Yeah, quite
ovens.
something.
It's incredible. So that was very inspiring, but I'm getting inspired quite easily these days. I've just been to Finland, and that was, in terms of nature, that was inspiring. Now I want to go and cook out there all the time. So, it's nice to take the fires with me. Especially, this is just about. This actually went on my kayak.
So does it?
I've formed
Really?
this crazy connection with it now. And it's just about going everywhere with me at the moment. It's just suitable to show people how to cook on fire without it being an absolute nightmare to cook, because all other planches are huge.
Okay.
And they've got fixed legs and you can't take them anywhere. But
You can
like I said.
transport that relatively easily.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so
any
much.
other questions?
One
Yes,
more
sir.
question. It's all right, we've got time.
Go
yes,
for it.
sir.
I was just going to ask, to what extent does the type of wood you're using affect whether it's a savoury dish or a sweet dish?
Yeah.
If you're using oak or birch or
So
scavenging?
getting wood is quite interesting, actually. We were getting deliveries of ash, oak, sycamore, like mixed loads, which meant that some were slightly more seasoned than others, some were quite damp, some were releasing a lot of smoke. You think wood's like maybe the easiest part of cooking on fire. It's actually quite hard to source large quantities of it. Of course, you can forage particular types of wood, but in Scotland you're a little bit, that's quite difficult. And then you've got to obviously season it for almost a year. So we're rolling on, your oaks, your sycamore, your ash. And they do, they're quite hardwoods, so they will be long burning.
Do they scent the smokes?
Yeah, there is different scented smoke. So if you use fruit trees, for example, a sweeter smoke. Like I said, foraging those sweeter woods is slightly difficult. But if you want to smoke things, for sure, those fruit trees are the way forward. And different wood will smoke a bit more. Sorry, I'm just hearing gas there. There we are. So it does play a major role. It's actually one of the hardest things to organise is the right wood and the right quantity. In terms of delivery. But we're rolling a lot on oak at the moment. But obviously that's hardwood, not so much smoke. But it's good for burning.
So interesting, isn't it? It's a whole world to explore.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. When you talk about it, you realise how. It's quite a thing. But it's exciting, and I think fire can be quite daunting. But when you get one going. And you're really pumping it, and you've got that, for example, you can actually cook some amazing things.
And eating outside, the taste, just that being by fire, eating outside, that taste, that experience, the wild landscape behind you, it's a really, really special thing that's probably quite hard to put into words, but you just feel it.
Yeah, I think that, whoever you're eating with in that moment or whoever you've cooked with, you're just experiencing something quite beautiful together, and it's not so much about the food.
No, it's
like
the whole experience.
It's the whole thing that you're taking in visually, and the smells and the senses is all quite primal.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of within us all. You know, there's
It is.
in everyone we're going to enjoy that. I think it's impossible not to. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think we'll all be making coffee salt. I don't know, but I'm going to try to
God.
home and impress everyone.
Yeah, coffee salt.
Okay, so then maybe get a little taste. if
Yeah,
that's-
I'll
that's
see
all
what I
right.
can do with the rest of this. But yeah, thank you for.
Thank
for-
you all
for
very
coming as
much.
well.
Thank
So-
you. Do come and take a card. Thank you, Will. Thank you.
Thank you guys.